People are going a little far with this.
If you ask the center of our planet how old is Earth, it would give an answer about 2.5 years less than us on the surface. This is a consequence of gravity. Time passes slower here than it does here, than it does here. But no one clock is more correct than the others because time is relative. There's no such thing as a universal present moment. God
Try to understand the difference between one layer of a sun and or the star and fuck, a star and the outside layers. Time would be weird. But then we see coronal mass ejections where stuff just, happened in a regular way.
doesn't know what time it is. But time's clearly a thing. Like, it flows, it's continuous, and it has a direction. These are things we can feel. Well, let's see about that. Out of all of the equations describing our universe, the direction of time only appears in one. The second law of thermodynamics, the tendency for things to drift from ordered to disordered.
So, this is where you have to really wonder what's happening everywhere. If everything else doesn't involve the straight arrow of time, because clearly thermodynamics is one way of talking about how time works, but there are other things that refer to a passage of time that is not going to just go back to where it came. But people are not seeing it, I guess.
Arrangements. But what really matters is that this law is emergent. It doesn't exist at the most fundamental levels of reality.
This is skeptical in my brain.
And this suggests that the direction of time isn't built into the universe, but rather emerges from how things behave. Okay, fine, the direction of time is an illusion, but I still feel something. Like, what is that? Whatever it is, it's not what you think. Quantum physics shows us that at the smallest scales, reality is composed of discrete chunks, and
Yeah, sure.
time isn't an exception. Our universe kind of has a frame rate of about 18.5 quadratillion frames per second. This is the Planck time. It's the amount of time it takes the fastest possible thing, light, to travel the smallest possible distance, the Planck length. Any interval of time shorter than this is physically meaningless. So time
Because our understanding of what could happen between frames breaks down a bit.
isn't even continuous. It's granular. So time isn't absolute, it isn't continuous, the present moment doesn't exist, and its direction is an illusion. What
Isn't continuous is like saying that the lightning strike is going to happen, but it's also going
the fuck is going on? Okay, so what does a world without time look like? Well,
Sorry, my...
follow for part two. If you ask the center of our...
Sorry, what was that book?
What the fuck is going on? Okay, so what does a world without time look like? Well, you'll need to follow...
World Without Time. Huh. Oh, fuck, it's you. God damn it. I already dove into your channel. Oh, son of a bitch. This is just the newest in this guy's stuff, and I don't want to keep going into this. The thing is, you have to, like, kind of have one person at least react to this stuff. But the thing is, time is okay. My interpretation is that time is everywhere. You don't just simply have the idea that time is different depending on one, something stupid like your speed, and two, gravity. That can affect the clocks. It doesn't affect time. The clocks are not accurate. The very fact that we can have these equations, have these things where it's like, oh, we're going to move the goalpost of, or the sensor for where the light is supposed to end up, and call that a test to see just how much faster we can get light to work. And it's like, you don't understand. If you're messing with how fast light could go, and then you're trying to say that that's going to be an accurate measurement also of time, it's like you're deliberately saying that it can be faulty, and then also saying that we have an accurate idea of what's happening in time. People don't get it. I've been on a hunt to try to disprove time dilation because certain intuitions that no one talks about, like how if you accelerate the thing to faster than just the rotation of the Earth, it's gonna slow down the ticks of the clock. That doesn't mean it's experiencing less time. It means that your clock is going to run slower. It's fine to say that you have an understanding of what happens with clocks when you speed them up or have them go a further distance in the same amount of time, aka speed them up. But you have to also understand that people are able to think that, well, the universe is expanding, and then the whole thing about being way out there is that we're still going to end up seeing everything expand at a certain rate, and that multiplies over distance for some reason, that things are moving away a light year and faster, technically. And although they're not physically moving faster. And it's like looking at a very long conveyor belt and then saying that it's somehow a multiplying factor, even though the entire conveyor belt is moving at the same rate. How do you come to these conclusions? But and also, according to the people at a super distant away, we would be the ones moving at light speed away from them. And we're physically not moving at light speed away from them. So it's an illusion. Stuff with time dilation, that atomic clock test was misrepresented so many times that, I mean, the reason I said three different sets of clocks, and then people said four clocks, and I was like, wait, okay, they had a set of clocks on the one plane was 4 clocks, and the set of clocks on the other plane was another, and on the ground is another. So we have like redundancy for the number of things that are keeping track of time. So any amount of error isn't capable of just messing it up. We can error correct. And it's like, that's cool. I'm glad that they did that. Otherwise, instrument failure could easily be put into it, and a lot of doubt can happen that way. But it's like 4 of them. How can all 4 of them fail at the same time? Unless the same thing was happening to all 4 of them, then the effect must be something. And it's because in the atomic clock, the faster you go, and this has to be understood that when you add the speed of the plane and the rotation of the Earth, it was going faster when it was going with the rotation of the Earth than it was going in the other direction. Which means that object isn't receding away from light as fast in this direction as it was in that direction. So if light has to go a little longer to keep up, that means a longer tick rate, which means different amount of time measured going this way versus that way. Directly meaning absolutely nothing about time dilation. So then what happened anyway was people equated it to gravity, they equated it to whatever else, and for some reason there's this thing going on about time dilation, and then this guy comes in and says, well, the inside of the planet must have the highest amount of gravity, so it has experienced more ticks of the clock compared to us. First of all, you have to consider how fast the center of the planet is moving in comparison to the Earth. 2 years doesn't seem accurate because not only do you have more gravity, but you also have a different speed of rotation. So there's more math that can be put towards this. The simple 2 years over the course of billions of years for the planet doesn't feel like it's correct when over the course of a plane flight we lost nanoseconds or gained nanoseconds going the other direction because it was that much shorter. It had that many more times to be able to bounce. People don't get it. It's this kind of thing that I want to fight against. The kind of thing that's like, okay, we've taken this information, we're just going to accept it as real, and then we're going to make an entire philosophy about black holes, the center of the Earth, or how the sun should work, and everything else, and it's all nonsense. Time is the same. 1 tick of a second is the same in the center of the Earth or anywhere else. It's your measuring device that's inaccurate. And I've proposed at some point a kind of clock that doesn't work along with standard ideas of how things work, so that the speed of the object won't screw it up. And you'll get an accurate measurement of time no matter where you are. Like a quartz, even a quartz crystal, right, will have some weird deformities if exposed to certain amounts of g-forces or gravity or whatever else. Everything is subject to all of this. So if you compensate properly, there's no reason we should ever end up with, oh yeah, this picture is weird. Huh? My thumb is like right in the middle. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's whatever. But it's like, that's just a random frame when I was doing this thing. It's like you're twisting something, right? And so, anyway, what does it all matter? What is the point? The point is that you can be real about things. Everyone's so caught up on, like, listen, if you were going to lose, how long did those atomic clock flights take? And they are moving at a rate faster than the rotation of the Earth, so they lost nanoseconds, right? How long would it take for them to lose years? Let's take a look. How many nanoseconds are in a year? Well, it's almost pi nanoseconds, 10 to the 16th. So 10 to the, can you please fucking write it down? Like, you have the ability to say, whatever. So the idea is that, right? What is 10 to the 16? Well, it's 10 and 16 zeros. What does that look like? There's 1 0, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's 15. Alright, so we're already at million, billion, trillion. So 10 quadrillion nanoseconds. It's more like 31.54 quadrillion nanoseconds per year, right? Okay. So if you think about that, the rotation of the Earth and whatever else, in order to lose a couple of years, you have to go and be off by the 200 nanoseconds. Screw this, we'll just shunt in, what the hell? Oh, wait, let's just say 200 nanoseconds, right? Huh. It would seem he's correct. He would be correct about it. That in the, wait a second. Hold on. Shut up. How long does it take the flight? How long did the flight take? Yo, go away. Whatever. Okay, how long was this whole 80 hours? Taking 3 days for each circuit. Okay, that makes sense. So in 80 hours total, that's not what that means. It's if it's 80 hours for each circuit or going around the planet, then yeah, that's per trip. You did 2 trips. Whatever. And we lost and gained 200-ish nanoseconds in 3 days. So returning to this, if we're doing that much time in 3 days, how does that... So compare that to a day. Oh, for fuck's sakes. No, that I don't know why the fuck I expected anything. This conversion rate is not what I'm thinking of. If the rate is 200 for 3 days, I need to do separate numbers for this shit. How many days in a year? It's 365. So, shut up. Use a calculator. Alright, so 365. Shut the fuck up. 365 divided by 3 equals 121 days, right? And it's 200. Fuck off. 365 divided by 3 equals that, then times 200. So in 1 year, we end up with 24,000 nanoseconds of time dilation from this jet. So take the 24,000 free and convert that into, frick, I don't care, hours. God, I hate you. .6. This number, the 3.6. Let's do. Can I get? Uh, can I get an actual like legible number? Can you stop correcting? I'm trying to type here. There we go. That doesn't help. Million years. What? That number is annoying. 1.5 million years? That's it? Unless I did something wrong. Well, obviously this is the amount that's wrong, so just switch it back to 1. 12 zeros. Okay, make sure that you have 12 zeros there. We have 9 zeros, so we need to add 3 more. There you go. Divided by the something of the something of the something, and you end up with 1.5 billion years. It doesn't add up. Something's missing. You would have had more than 2 years of time dilation in the center of the planet, depending on the rate of difference in the center of the planet compared to us on the top. And I don't know those numbers. I can't even begin to do the calculations. Why am I trying? But this is it. It's a benchmark. It's like an idea of the generalization. So who cares about the nitpicking? It feels like literally thermodynamics is the only thing out there. Everything else apparently seems to be fake and not rely on time.
If you ask the center of our planet how old is Earth, it's relative. There's no such thing as a universal present moment. God doesn't know what time it is.
First of all, not only did they say the day is 1,000 years, but that's an underestimate. Just because 1,000 years is approximately what you would have to do in order to compensate for the number of people. It's relative to everyone else's days all added together. And anyway, time dilation doesn't mean shit to people. So God would have never known any different. And it has to do with, the Earth spun a certain amount of times. Time dilation doesn't take into that effect. It's only the rotation of the Earth that affects the day. So, of course, any being would know what time it is. So this is stupid, but moving on.
But time's clearly a thing. Like, it flows, it's continuous, and it has a direction. You know, these are things we can feel. Well, let's see about that. Out of all of the equations describing our universe, the direction of time only appears in one. The second law of thermodynamics.
Okay, so I mean, we have to have like a key, right? The fuck? Do you even know what the hell I'm asking? Describes the phenomenon gravity objects tend to fall. Theory is about this. Yeah, but okay, but can we get like laws of thermodynamics? I don't know all these things. Like, what are all the different core principles? Okay, that's fucking useless. Biology. Oh yeah, evolution. That's another thing that works only with the forward direction of time, because how can you evolve backward into time? That doesn't work. Newton's first law. Object will stay in motion or will stay at rest. Objects in motion will stay in motion and remains in motion at a constant velocity unless acted on by an external force. Yeah, this doesn't help. The laws of life. Go fuck. What? Time heals all wounds? That's fucking bullshit. It's time and effort, but no one wants to talk about that. Laws of the universe? Cause and effect, something, something, something. Fuck, that's stupid. Law of thermodynamics, blah blah blah. Oh, there are three. Okay. Defines equilibrium. Can't be created or destroyed or only transformed. That's a lie. Well, it's highly skeptical. It's highly like people believe what you want to believe, but again, if it turns into heat and the heat dissipates, that's not the same as being converted. That's just being destroyed with extra words. The second law of entropy disorder is increase is a spontaneous process. Is heat flows from hot to cold. And the third law of dynamic is entropy approaches zero, the absolute zero, or absolute temperature. Zero temperature, these laws explain the flows of... Wait, so one of them just represents something not doing anything. The other one is actually the thing doing something, and the other thing is the thing has done something, past, present, and future. All of three of them refer to each other as the thing has finished doing what it's doing. These things, the first one is the things won't interact, but even in equilibrium, you reached equilibrium by, oh my god, the smell of this chocolate is weird. Conservation of energy, that's false. Oh, there's four laws, what the fuck? In two systems, the thermal equilibrium, in the third system, they will also a thermal equilibrium which is established in the concept of temperature. Something, second law, conservation of energy, entropy, third law, of absolute zero. So, just estimating the concept of temperature, like, literally, in order to put in enough effort to become absolute zero, you have to do like magnetism and whatever else to reach and lasers to make a Bose-Einstein condensate. You can't just say it will happen. It does not happen. Things have their own energy. To bring them to lower temperatures, you have to literally do something else to them. This is why I didn't like King concept is energy, and thermal equilibrium. Here's the thing, right? Take a thing, boil up some water, and then wait for it to react to the rest of the world that's out there, and you still won't end up with no energy. You'll end up with a passive amount, which is room temperature. It's not colder, and it's not... But if you end up like going out into the outer realms of space, you end up with cold, but it's not absolute zero. And so you have to put in more energy in order to achieve absolute zero. There is a static low point that doesn't that there's a resistance to it ever going lower than low because it literally can't get that low. It doesn't have the ability to stop the atomic stuff from doing things. So like the electrons will just simply keep on rotating. There's nothing else that you can do about it unless you put in more effort. So I don't know, but for some reason, Kurzgesagt talked about a low temperature brain that if, depending on how slow you got it to go, you would just shut it down and it would somehow have the ability to do things and reach a lower and lower temperature it never will work that way. You shut it down for the first time, it goes to as low as it can, and unless you're willing to put in more energy, it won't get any lower. So, like, the best way to get things to a lower temperature is remove the electrons. They can't move, they can't bounce, they can't do anything. Um, but there's still energy inside of the proton-neutron pairs and everything, that they have their own interactions, they have their own temperature. So even removing all the electrons doesn't give you um, proper, like, closer to 0 Kelvin. It's not enough. Although it's there, it's very close. People have been experimenting and whatever else, doing things, getting really close. Why do I have to point that out? It only makes me worse. Anyway, like, literally, dude, you don't understand. We have you gotta understand that you're literally being held up by perpetual motion. That everything is made by perpetual motion, by all of the materials being doing their interactions that leads to protons, neutrons, electrons with their dance, and the quarks making the proton neutrons to make all of the different parts, which is powerful enough that you have freaking hair that you can tug on it. It doesn't just fall apart immediately or whatever. Like, you have stuff that makes steel and tungsten. You have stuff that makes your eyeball jelly. You have all of this stuff, and it's all perpetual motion made, and it doesn't just stop. And a lot of things can, like, corrode over time or whatever else, but, like, there's so many things that we end up thinking of. It's one of the. I need to eat these melons. um. Grapes. Grapes are nice. But what I really want is Reese's. But of course, I do need to eat the melons. Like, the concept of gravity is just other objects moving in relation to each other. Momentum. Hmm. Stuff with buoyancy and all that. Do you know why I think my mom gained a peanut allergy? freaking pathogens in our food. I have fully cooked food, never allowing any kind of worm or whatever else junk to be part of my diet. So I'm not going to end up with, oh, this thing could be a problem for my body, and it doesn't freaking have those alarm bells go off and say, well, whatever thing looks like this, it's actually from a bug, get it out of here. Right? That's the whole reason why these things end up becoming triggered. You end up eating crap that's like still got those things in it, and that can also equal, hey, you get sick from whatever the frick had these proteins, also had maybe other stuff that was bad. So protein, even if it doesn't make you sick, equals chances are things are going to be bad. So avoid, please. And that's how your body works. But moving on from that, so I generally feel like I'm not going to end up with a peanut allergy or a coconut allergy because I don't, I don't go near the meat aisle whatsoever. It's processed food or nothing. It is handled correctly to make sure that it's fine, or I am not wanting to eat it. I'm still gonna eat my mom's cooking, but like my diet is majority is the stuff that has already been processed to the point where you don't need to worry about freaking parasites. So what about the backing back to the nonsense of science referring to time? Well, when we talk about chemical reactions or whatever else, we also think about um, the reversibility. That if you took these things, you combine them back together, like electrons and positrons, somehow you can end up um, with a gamma ray back again. And the answer to that is the same reason why you can't just get the eggshell to return back to being an eggshell after you've cracked it. And again, this is the law of thermodynamics, although eggshells aren't thermally anything. They just are a structure that was originally together and now they are not. Just like a crushed Cheerio was once together and now it is not. There's nothing thermal about that. You just applied certain amounts of, I mean, you could call it thermodynamics, where you applied enough pressure to the structure of, where you did something to break all of those connections inside the Cheerios so they turned into dust. Cheerio dust. You can still eat it. It's fine. It's just Cheerios. But I mean, it's is that even a law of thermodynamics component? And apparently, yeah. It's weird. It's a whole weird. Here's a question for you. Why did this fall off the keychain? Squishy, squishy. Also, you have literally you squish, and it likes its normal configuration is this. It likes that. It doesn't like more than this, and it doesn't like less. So you can end up like denting it or whatever else, and you can make like deformations. But other than that, like after you squish the damn thing, it still goes back to being a squishy thing. So does that mean that you can just keep on doing that? Like how often, how long? That's interesting kind of thing with law of thermodynamics. The reversibility of its squishiness could be considered to be something that is like, does time even matter at that point? Because it's squished and then unsquished. reverse the function and it was squished and unsquished and it makes no difference. Pressure was applied and released. Does it matter if it was forward in time or backward in time? The answer, of course, is yes. It matters. Why? Uh, um, but there's things like why in all of this stuff do we have a setup where literally every single reaction that we have of objects that like to, when you get things together, you can combine them and you end up with polymers, and then you can deconstruct them, but you wouldn't say that deconstructing them in reverse could be a process to construct them again. Same as breaking the egg. Different ways of making things into egg shell or splattered egg, like, is not even a thing. It's just a rearrangement of egg parts. And if it was heated up to become more solid, then can it ever go back to being a jelly? To re-liquefy the egg after thermal shock? Like that's again a thermodynamic thing. So it has to have a one-way directional stuff. Watch pot never boils. I am lost in nothing. I don't know what to eat. I mean, I know that I have things that I can eat. I still have another meal from freaking this stuff that I have to eat. So I'll probably eat that. Although it's a large. Look at the size of this shit. That's massive. That is huge. It's bigger than a whole plate. Although it is considered to be the size and amount that you would put on a plate, I would say divide that in half. I can easily eat that twice over. Or can easily. Shut up. Divide that in half. I can easily eat it for 2 days. Oh, it has my name on it. That's nice. Of course it does. But here's a weird thing. Why would I get this meal plus 3 of those from the same people? It's kind of nice, but it's also confusing. Like, your one organization made 3 different, or the 3, and then also I end up with this, and it's like, how do you organize that to be that way, or whatever. I shouldn't have done the sweet potato first. It's going to mess up with the potatoes and everything. Military man. Don't want my food touching. The movie Toys just got to mind, and I couldn't help because it is a... Just whatever, I'm done. Goodbye.